Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to CharismaToAC and this brand new thing that we're going to be starting. This brand new thing is going to be called A Grave Wedding.
Oh my.
Oh my. And is a Legend of the Five Rings campaign. For those of you who are not familiar with Legends of the Five Rings, what the hell is wrong with you? And get out there and familiarize yourselves with it immediately, because it's an amazing game setting. And but in brief, it is fantasy East Asia, primarily Japan, but with a little bit of Chinese beliefs and so on thrown in there as well. The game system we are using is custom made for the game. It's by Fantasy Flight Games. It's the 5th edition of the game, and I'm going to say right away that none of us here are particularly strong in this game system, and we have tried it years ago once before and learned that particularly the combat system is or can be super janky. At least we found it to be. Some people like it, I know. We have found it to be rather stilting. They're using some methods that we were not particularly fond of. But the game system as a whole, everything else is great, is super fun and so on. So this is going to be a very story-driven campaign. There's going to be relatively little combat planned. At least that's the idea. You never know what happens once the game begins, of course. But quite a lot of fighting is going to be narrated if it does happen. Because that way we're going to minimize the times that we need to use the only part of this rule system that we as a game group are not particularly keen on. The story, as you will learn, deals with samurai of various great clans, as they're called, and even some minor clans, but primarily with the great clans of a world or a country, a nation called Rokugan. And Rokugan is it is a country in trouble, let's put it that way, because the great clans can't get along with one another very well. They end up at each other's throats quite routinely. As you can see on the map in the background here, there are certain names written onto the map. Dragon up here, for example, Phoenix up here. These are the names of major clans. The ones in slightly smaller print, like Dragonfly here or Wasp down here, those are the names of minor clans. So the great clans of Rokugan are the Unicorn, the Dragon, the Phoenix, the Lion, the Scorpion, the Crane, and the Crab. And our story will primarily deal with 3 of these, namely the Crab, the Crane, and the Scorpion. But there will be people from other clans who will be involved as well. So it's just a matter of the setting or the game will take place in lands controlled by those 3 great clans first and foremost. That's not to say that the other great clans won't be represented. There will in fact be player characters from some of the other clans. We're going to do what we often do and have these sort of short introductory campaign stories, whatever you want to call it, intro stories for each character. And we're starting today with none other than Rasmus.
Whoop whoop!
Whoop whoop indeed.
Hi.
And Rasmus, why don't you give us a little bit of information about your character?
Sure. My character is Kakita Asayuki from the Crane clan.
Yes.
She is from a family renowned for their Iaijutsu duelists, an ideal of perfection she's tried to achieve her entire life. And now she's about to be wed to into the Crab Clan in order to what do you call that? Hopefully ensure some peace and cooperation.
Yes.
Of course, secretly having lived up to the ideal of perfection her entire life, secretly she longs to be swept away by a mysterious, handsome lover, so that they can elope and flee to the countryside and be, romantic and live by a river and just everything be idyllic, because that happens.
Yes. Basically, she wants the fairy tale, which is not exactly what happens to most samurai. And it should be said that for the listeners, that the idea of a crab and a crane marrying each other is very rare. The two clans don't, generally speaking, get along very well, and and there are even more problems with this particular marriage constellations for reasons that shall be seen in the game itself as we begin. And we do begin about a year before the campaign proper starts. And it starts in Shirosano Kakita, which is located all the way up here. And which is the Kakita family that you come from. It is their main keep. It is their main home.
Yes, and I can see aside from the capital, it's the northernmost crane territory.
Yes. And you have taken part in your trials or your tests. All samurai have such a test when they are coming of age, and in your particular case, you have taken part in a dueling class, dueling tournament. It hasn't been a large tournament. It has been a fairly small affair, and it has been for newcomers to the discipline of Iaijutsu. But you have won it. And it has been by the skin of your teeth, but you won it.
I imagine that's often the case with such fast duels.
It is a very high risk thing, which normally requires you to have a fairly high composure, which yours is not.
No, I plan on remedying that. But...
Yes. But you have managed, regardless, through maybe a little bit of luck, maybe some clever dueling skills, you have managed to win this competition, and you have been it has been observed not only by you but by representatives from several other clans. What is most surprising is that it has been observed by a member of a clan, or sorry, a member of a family of the Crab Clan, who are normally absolutely not welcome in Crane lands, namely the Yasuki. And the reason why they are not welcome goes back many, many years. Namely, that the Yasuki were, in times past, they were a member of the Crane clan, but they broke free and joined the Crabs instead. And there is deep, lingering resentment towards the Yasuki for this reason from the rest of the Cranes.
Right.
And there has been a low-grade Cold War going on for several centuries, which has occasionally erupted into outright violence, and it is mainly because the crabs as a whole don't want to commit to wars against other great clans that this hasn't gone completely overboard, because they are busy holding the wall, the Great Caillou Wall.
Yes, they have more important things to do.
They have more important things to do than fight other great clans, quite frankly, and that is keeping the entire empire safe. But that doesn't mean that the cranes aren't distrustful and that they don't dislike the Yasky intensely. They do. So it's very unusual that there is a member of the Yasky clan present. In this case, it's a woman. Her name is Akari, Yasky Akari. And she's not only present, but she has been given a position of honor next to the person who is overseeing this contest. And the person overseeing the contest is Yudai Kakita, namely your lord.
Oh. Well, in that case, this sounds like someone I ought to treat with a lot of respect.
It certainly is.
Despite clan politics.
Yes. And as you have won the whole thing, the whole shebang, you are obviously summoned before your lord that same... I mean, yeah, you were named the winner at the event itself, but... This is during the evening. You know there is a feast going on in honor of the various guests that are there. Not just this Yasky, but several other clans have representatives there as well.
Yeah,
and you are summoned to your lord's table.
That is quite an honor.
It is.
Which obviously I shall let my lord know.
That sounds like a wise precaution. I would say give me a roll here. And this can be done with either water or air.
Yeah.
And it is a courtesy roll.
All right.
If you do it with water, you are being very polite and you know, smoothing things over and very formal about it. If you're going with air, you're being a little more cocksure because, you know, hey, look at me, I'm this awesome because I just won this whole thing, and so on.
Yeah.
The target number is only 1. You only need a single success.
I think that... I mean, obviously I have more in my air ring than I have in my water.
Yes.
And since that, I believe, also acts a bit as a reflection of me as a person.
It does.
I can easily see Asayuki being politely smug.
Yes. Politely,
So
I like that. Politely smug.
Or at the very least coming across as very assured in her own capabilities.
Certainly.
So let's see. Alright.
That is not a bad roll at all. That is actually a pretty good roll. You can keep up to 3 dice. And
Yes.
I will explain this for the viewers because they probably haven't seen this before. If you look at the screen that I have going right now, you will be able to see over here, where my mouse cursor is right now, there are 4 strange symbols represented: success, explosive success, opportunity, and strife. And these are the things that you can roll on these special dice that they use in this game. Successes are obviously, and explosive successes are obviously what you're going for. A success is just that. It counts as, yes, I succeeded, woohoo. An explosive success you can keep rolling. You can re-roll that to try to get even more successes. Opportunities offer some advantages of various kinds, or some role-playing depth being added to the scene. And strife is, as it pertains to a samurai's stoic nature. You have to remain calm and yes, stoic at all times. You have to not show emotion and so on. Whereas if you gain strife, you will slowly but surely become unable to hide your emotions. And this is a very central part of this game that people will eventually unmask, as it's called, and show their emotions to, and which will be seen as terribly dishonorable but also add a lot of role playing, obviously, to the story. And Rasmus has rolled 3 successes on 3 dice. So you can see that they are 6-sided dice, those are the black ones, and 12-sided dice, those are the white ones. The 6-sided dice are the ones representing his various rings, and his rings are basically his stats, whereas the 12-sided dice represent his skills. So you have the more you have of each, the better. You can keep up to the number of rings, up to the number of dice when you have rolled that equals the number of rings. And Rasmus used his air ring, which is 3, so he can keep up to 3 of these. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep all 3 successes and take that 1 strife?
I think, with my composure not being the best, I should like to keep only the 2 successes.
All right.
Not take the one with the strife.
Not take the one with the strife as well.
I'm sure I'll get strife later.
Probably. That is quite fine. You, as I said, the target number is only a single 1. So you not only get that 1, you actually beat it. You have a bonus success, which is a good thing. The more bonus successes you have, the better your performance, obviously. So you approach your lord's table and of course give the correct and formal kind of bow.
Oh, most obviously.
But you also manage to do so with just the right amount of "look at me, I'm this good" on your face without actually saying it. And it's clear from at least several of the guests, particularly there is a scorpion present, he notices. There is no question that he notices, and you get the tiniest of creases at the corner of his mouth. You notice it. It's like his tell, probably, that he nearly smiles. But he doesn't quite.
Of course.
But they all, of course, wait until you have bowed, because while you are the winner of the contest, you are also a lower ranking samurai than any of the guests present, so they wait until you have bowed and then they return it.
Of course.
And your lord, Yudai, sizes you up. He reaches out for a cup of sake and empties it before he actually speaks to you. So he lets you wait for that, crucial long moment of letting the tension build just a little.
And politely being reminded that I am not at the same level.
Yes, pretty much. But at the same time, he is drinking to your health, which is also an honor, so to say.
Yeah, you can send many messages with one action.
Yes, oh yes. And he looks you up and down and says, "You performed well today in the fights. Though I think at times it got quite close."
Thank you very much, my lord. Though I am confident in my skill, I would not say that it's surprising that with such skilled students, the result was close.
You are, of course, very correct. And your fellow students also performed well in most cases. Of course, there are always some who need to learn more patience, he says. And this is, in fact, one of the things... This is a very subtle dig towards you, because with a composure at 6, which yours is, you can't afford to be patient in these... That's
imagine
simply the way it works. Is that a duel? You gain 1 strife on round 1 automatically. You gain 2 strife on round 2 automatically, and 3 strife on round 3, which equals to the 6 that you have. So you can't afford to be super patient in these fights.
I imagine that I have won through a mixture of grace and overwhelming aggression.
Yes, pretty much. And the others at the table all nod, and the Yaski actually leans forward a little and says, yes, I noticed a certain aggression in you. It was not something I expected to see out of a young crane, and it was refreshing.
I bow as a thank you.
Yes.
Uncertain if it's my place to comment.
It seems to be that she expects some sort of response, because she speaks directly to you.
In that case, after having bowed, Asayuki says, it is, of course, never the nature of our style that a single strike should kill. As such, aggression can be a wonderful ally.
I absolutely agree. In fact, on the wall, she says, and she just lets those 3 words hang terribly 9 months pregnant in the air, while everybody else squirms a little because they are not on the wall and her clan is. And she says, so on the wall, if you wait too long, you will die. Their aggression, tempered with a certain amount of wisdom, of course, is always preferable. I think, she says, and looks at Yudai, I think she is exactly what I was hoping for, and I do, in fact, accept your generous proposal, my lord.
My ears perk up, not actually, but are they talking about me?
Yes, they certainly are. And Yudai, Yudai actually, again, he does, because he in this situation, it's not unmasking for him to show a small amount of satisfaction, because something has just gone right for him in some way, and he puts his hands together in front of himself and says, "Excellent. Then I shall say a year from now." And the crane, the crab nods. She gives a slight incline of her head and looks back to you and says, "Oh, and just so that we are certain that you are not completely confused, we are of course speaking of your coming marriage, young one."
I mean, I don't think this was presently on my mind. Probably, since, you know, I just won a
Congratulations,
tournament.
you won the tournament, now get married. It's not exactly what most people would expect, I think.
No. I think Asayuki, you know, after hesitating for only a second, once again inclines her head and then says, "If I may be so bold, who am I to have the honor of marrying?"
A young man from my own family, Gio, is looking for a wife. He is a good and solid man in every respect. And it is my intention to begin the mending of this interminable and long-standing disagreement between our families and our clans. It serves no one except the enemies on the other side of the wall. And Yurai nods slowly and says, "It is also of my opinion that that enmity between the crab and the crane has gone on for long enough. It needs to end for everyone's benefit. What has happened so long ago that it is time to move on. We are neighboring great clans. Our lands literally touch upon one another. And we must not allow this enmity to fester any longer. It has done nothing but damage to everyone involved." And there are several nods and you know, general acknowledgements from the people around the table. This is clearly something, most of whom, of course, are cranes. Most of them are.
Right.
So this is clearly something that Lord Yudai is not alone in thinking. This is something that his household seems to stand behind and believe in.
Okay.
And he looks back to you and says, "I am not going to pretend that this will necessarily be easy. There are significant differences between our clans, as we all know. But it is an honor being shown to you, young one. The person chosen for this should know that it is for the good of not just our two families, but for the good of our clans, and therefore for the good of Rokugan as a whole."
Asayuki nods and says, "That I can serve and that my marriage might serve such a noble purpose is an honor I shall strive towards living up to."
Lord Yudai nods, clearly very pleased with that answer. You may add a point of honor to your character sheet.
Oh, yay!
Because that was exactly the right thing to say in this situation. He nods slowly and says, "Very well, then it is decided. 1 year from today we shall have a wedding. And let us, in fact, celebrate this joyous and momentous occasion. Bring more sake!" and more sake is most assuredly brought, and people get completely sloshed throughout the evening because, you know, yes.
Yeah, of course they do.
And we shall fast forward a bit. Because this is obviously not... about 3 months after this has happened.
Yeah.
You have left the safe confines of Shirosano Kakita, all the way up in the north, and have started traveling south because the wedding will take place way down in the south, and you may as well get used to it.
Yes, and it's a long way, so...
And it is a very long way. And you arrive in a small village, roughly here.
Oh, okay.
If you can see where I'm pinging.
Yes.
Good. Yes, exactly.
Oh, I should change my color. This one is not befitting of my hearing.
And the village is called Lovely Blossoms.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It is, and for good reason. They have have absolutely lovely cherry blossom or cherry trees, and they are in bloom. So you can actually see why the town is, or village is, named as it is, because you would think that the trees that they have surrounding their houses are almost like they have been kept with the same minute care that an expert craftsman would take with a bonsai. Except, of course, these are full-size trees, but you know, every one of them is bending and crawling upwards in some artistic fashion. It's a lovely sight.
I could really imagine.
And of course, other than that, the village makes a living farming rice, because you know what else would they really be doing? It's a rice farming community, but you are there because on the you are actually meant to meet up with a member of the Yasuki family on the way to meet your future husband.
Oh.
Except when you get there, you realize that a slight amount of subterfuge has probably been involved, because the person you are meeting is in fact your future husband.
Oh.
And you are meeting in a small. There is a guest house in the village. This is not that unusual. There are often these small guest houses in most villages, just for the in the occasional situation where a samurai passes through.
Of course.
And you arrive first, so you are basically the person waiting for him to arrive.
All right.
But he doesn't let you wait long before he enters. And when he does, you see a man who is of average height.
Yeah.
But very well built. He's a handsome man.
Well, that certainly helps.
That does help. He has very good features. Very he's not built like you would expect, like a Hida defender to be, you know, big, brawny, hulking mass of muscles.
No.
But at the same time, it's also obvious that if he ever did draw his sword in anger, he would certainly do some damage.
Yes.
He's a strong, well-built fellow. And he enters the guest house and closes the door behind him, turns around, looks at you, and bows.
All right. I assume we're roughly of equal standing.
Yes, you are.
In that case, presumably I should bow as well.
Yes.
And it shall be done.
He seems to be quite relaxed with where he is, even though he is in Crane lands and he's Yaski and so on. He seems fairly relaxed, and he sits down opposite from you at the table, folding his legs, and he says, "This is a splendid little village. I find that there are many such places in Crane lands."
Let's see. I'll look at him and acknowledge that he's speaking, obviously.
Yes.
I think I shall afford him, the tiniest of smiles.
Yes.
And I think Asayuki says something along the lines of a meeting between two souls to work together while the cherries bloom ever beautifully. That seems to me to be most auspicious.
He returns the smile somewhat wider because now you have basically broken the ice. So this is now a more informal sort of situation. So he gives you a slightly wider smile than that, and nods, and he says, "Very elegantly put, and I do agree. In fact, our upcoming marriage must be auspicious for all involved. But that said," he said, "I felt it was prudent if we had a chance to actually see one another first, so that we had some idea of what we are involving ourselves with. Entering into any negotiation completely blind," and it should be said out of character that the Yaski are a family who are renowned for their abilities as merchants, which is not normally seen as a high status thing, but they manage to do it without ever actually touching money, which is the really crucial detail. They do this. They make all their deals without ever actually laying hands on money themselves, which is what makes them so good at it. So he says, "What? So for anyone to enter into negotiations completely blind is to invite disaster."
She nods. And I think, I mean, this is, of course, meeting someone I definitely would prefer getting along to.
Yeah, of course.
So I think I say, I'm certain that that you can teach me much about negotiation in this partnership, and I shall be a graceful dance partner.
He nods and says, "I am certain, in fact, that we will teach each other much."
I nod. I like that answer.
And he seems sincere when he says it. It's quite important. It doesn't seem to be like him being facetious or just trying to humor you. He seems to actually mean it.
Yeah. I mean, so far he's handsome, but has like a relaxed edge that I like. And it seems well spoken. This is turning out well.
Yes, you could have been much more. This could have been a much worse arrangement for you.
Absolutely.
And he says, "So obviously there will be many things we will need to learn about one another, but I suppose a good place to start is to ask you what your interests are."
I think Asayuki takes a moment to mull the question over. because, might as well look like I'm taking it serious. And I think she is, internally, thinking like, what should I actually say? And I think she says, as you might expect, I do quite enjoy both art and poetry, as well as the poetry expressed through the cloth. I also find that, aside from my interest in the sword, I do enjoy a good game of Go every now and again.
Oh, most excellent, so do I.
Ah.
I think we shall have many pleasant evenings playing Go in that case. He says that he actually looks relieved that this is something that you enjoy, because not everybody likes games, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But he also says, you said that you enjoy the arts. Well, I wouldn't exactly call myself an artist, but, he says, and then he takes out a small piece of paper,
mm-hmm.
and he with quick, deft fingers begins to fold it in front of you until he has folded up a little crab, an origami crab, which he puts down on the table, and he pushes it slightly on one side, which makes it walk sideways like crabs do.
Azuyuki makes like a sound of approval.
Yes.
And I don't know how to express this, but we both know that my character is a bit of a flirt.
Yes, she is.
So she will, she'll express herself, and she'll manage to include something along the lines of that she certainly appreciates that he has nimble fingers. But she'll put it in a more refined manner,
more delicately than that. Yes.
So it'll be like almost like, hey, wait, did she mean anything by that? I'm not sure.
Yes, whether he picks up on it or not, he plays the role perfectly,
mm-hmm.
and says, well. He doesn't, blush or anything of the sort. He keeps his composure.
Mm-hmm.
Though, out of character speaking, he may have taken a strife from doing so. and he looks to you and says, well, I should perhaps not be surprised that a member of the Kakita family appreciates nimbleness. It is, after all, something for which your family is renowned, and you can tell that there is a hint in there of, yes, I have nimble fingers. I'm hoping you can match them.
Oh, Azuyuki's having a great time.
Yes. He's so far hopefully coming across as a pretty decent guy.
He is.
And he says, I should say for the record that my reasons for being here in this village are not they are twofold. He says, because I did actually bring. I suppose the only way to say is I brought a present.
Oh.
Which, at first I thought whether I should let it go to your lord or to yourself. But I figured since we are the ones meeting, and since it's so very far from here to Shiro-san Kakita, I think it is probably wisest to let it go to you.
That is most generous.
And
I am afraid I did not think to likewise bring something for you.
oh, that is quite all right. Your good company is excellent.
That is a relief to hear. And I think, and yours too, or something like that. But you know, again,
yes.
I need to get into the role of expressing myself properly.
Yeah, oh, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. He smiles again. This tiny little smile, and he makes a hand gesture as if to ask you to wait just a moment, and he gets back up, leaves the room momentarily, and comes back in with a little box, a little item.
Oh.
It's about the size of a tea caddy. So not particularly large. And it is made from inlaid wood, which has been lacquered.
Oh.
So it's a very beautiful piece. This, he says, was actually made by a member of the Caillou family, whom owed me a favor. And I asked him for this because I felt it would be a he thinks for a while before he can use a cultured approach.
Oh.
And he places it on the table and pushes it towards you, and it's clear that you can open the lid, the box.
I will once again express my gratitude, and then I shall figure out what exactly it is.
As you open the box, it turns out to be a music box. Something which the Caillou family are renowned for being extremely good at making. They're also known for... You can't normally... They make them as sort of practice items to keep their technical skills honed.
Right.
But they, if you go up to a member of the Caillou family and says, could you please make me a music box? They will normally say, no, I am more busy making defensive weapons for the wall. Right. Because that's the way it is. But they do make them. And so they're basically little treasures because they're quite rare.
Yeah.
But you can see that you can set it to 3 different settings. So there are 3 different pieces of music in the box. And the scene playing out on the because it's obviously got a little mechanical scene playing out is that of what are they called, peasants in rice fields. So an idyllic little pastoral scene.
Oh, that's nice. And then I assume it plays one of 3 melodies?
Yeah, it plays one of 3 melodies, and you can set it to 3 different ones.
I shall of course appreciate this, and then eventually Asayuki looks up and once again offers the tiniest little smile. And he says, the Caillou are of course known for their craftsmanship even among us cranes, but it takes a discerning eye to recognize a treasure among treasures.
This seems to please him. He's very happy that it's being so well received, and you can tell he is of course a courtier. That is the role that the Yasuki play, but they are still crabs.
Yes,
and they are rougher around the edges than even the most brusque crane. And you can tell he doesn't unmask, but there is enough of a hint there that you can tell that he is truly relieved that things have gone so well. This is important to him, that he makes a good impression. He doesn't want to come across as a bore, basically, to you.
Mm-hmm. I think because Asuyuki echoes the sentiment, I think she repeats her initial line about how a meeting between two souls, as the cherries blossom so beautifully, is most auspicious.
He nods and says, "I believe tea would be in order." And of course, but what he is basically doing is he is initiating the tea ceremony.
Yes, the tea ceremony, which I believe is an actual ritual, isn't it?
It is an actual ritual, and he knows it, and he carries it out. And without going into great, massive details here, it is actually quite a romantic thing, or it can be. It can also be a thing done between friends.
Of course.
But there are these subtle little differences that you can insert here and there depending on what it is you want to signal with your tea ceremony. It is a very carefully orchestrated social message.
Right.
And the message that he clearly sends you is that he finds you attractive and interesting company, and that he is quite taken with you, clearly. But since you can't, as a samurai, say such things, because that would be far too direct a statement to make, not once you're married. That then he can say that to you in private as much as he likes, but until the actual marriage is completed, he can't. And so he has to use such things as the tea ceremony to signal this to you instead.
Right.
And he does so quite well.
Oh. Feeling all wooed here.
Yes, and it's pretty clear that is what he wants you to feel. And then we shall have another fast forward.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we are fast forwarding all the way to the wedding.
Oh. Yes.
And the wedding itself is a major affair. There are people invited from near and far. There are even people from... the crabs are traditionally close allies of the phoenixes, whereas the cranes are traditionally closely allied with the dragons.
Okay.
And both of those clans have sent representatives.
Makes
and
sense.
Because it would be an enormous social faux pas to not invite the scorpions, because they are the neighboring clan of both the cranes and, strictly speaking, the crabs, even though there are... all this land in between. There's all this land, yeah. But they are the nearest major clan apart from the cranes. So it would have been a bad social misstep to not invite them as well, and they have been. The crabs and the unicorns don't get along, so there aren't actually any unicorns invited. And the cranes and the lions don't get along very well, so there aren't any lions either.
Fair enough.
But other than that, the dragons, the phoenixes, and the scorpions are there as well, and they are, and of course, many representatives from both the cranes and the crabs. Not everyone is as enthusiastic about this idea of making peace in this way as the people who arranged for this marriage to take place.
Of course.
There are people present at this wedding who are clearly there because it would be seen as unpalatably rude
Not to be.
not to be.
Yeah, okay.
But that's about it. But the whole thing is meant to take 3 days. The wedding itself, the actual ceremony will take place on the second day. The first day is basically everybody arriving because people arrive staggered and so on. And then on the second day is also where such things as blessings are read on the happy couple and so on and so forth. And then on the third day would be the great feast and any presents and so on being given.
Okay.
And you are seated at the beginning of the second day where the actual ceremony is about to take place. You are seated in a great feasting hall along with about 100 guests of various different families and clans and so on. Not all of them are samurai. There are some servants that are involved in this as well, but the majority of them are samurai. I would probably say about 70 of the people in this room are samurai.
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, you need servants for something like that.
Exactly. And there is a lot of there's a lot of ceremony that takes place here, ringing of gongs and the excitement of evil spirits by Shugenja, and there are some crab Shugenja present from the Kuni family with their painted faces. They paint themselves to look like characters out of kabuki plays, because that allegedly confuses evil spirits who can't recognize them.
Much fascinating.
And they are famous, and some would say infamous, for being very, very brutal people in their methods when it comes to spirits.
Right.
And the way they drive out evil spirits from this room leaves several of the crabs in attendance gasping for air. It's like, can you do that in polite company, basically, sort of thing. But and then incense is lit throughout the entire room.
Yeah.
And the what are they called? The servants bring a ceremonial cup of sake for everyone in the room that everybody is supposed to basically drink at the same time. And people do, and then shit happens.
Uh-oh.
Because the next thing you realize is that you wake up.
Well, that's embarrassing. I'm not supposed to pass out on my own wedding.
No, you're not. But what's a lot worse is that when you wake up, you realize that it's you and a handful of people in the room that are waking up. Everyone else is dead.
I shall definitely make sure to very hopefully check if my husband-to-be is among this handful of people.
He is not.
Aww, darn it. I can only imagine that in Asayuki's internal dialogue, when it's not, groggy and disoriented, there's gonna be some sort of not very proper swear word.
Yes. Because there is no question that you were actually about to enter into a marriage with someone who gave a damned.
Yes, and they were who I actually liked.
Yes, and who liked you in return, and who was prepared to treat you well. He had written you a couple of letters as well after that initial meeting, and it was pretty obvious from the way he did. He would always send another origami figure with every letter that he sent, and you know, he was a good man, and unfortunately he is now dead.
Aww.
And
that's not good.
No. And
may I add a small origami crab to my equipment?
Oh yes, you
may.
may.
He's kept the first one he made.
Oh yes, you may. And as you regain your bearings and realize that he is dead, and so are the vast majority of the people in the room, and that this internal swearing is going on, you hear the most horrific laughter you have ever heard in your entire life.
Uh-oh.
It is coming out of thin air. Like, it's a disembodied kind of laughter. And it is clearly mocking you.
Oh. All right.
And that is where we will start the campaign proper.
All right. So I'm gonna find this laughter and murder it.
Yes. Primary goal added. Find source of laughter and kill it.
Exactly. New objective.
New objective added. All right.
Oh no, my poor husband.
Yes.
It's so nice.
Yes. But somebody has done something horrible.
Clearly.
And
they must pay for it.
And they must indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen of the viewing audience, that was the first of our introductory little tales here for the for this new campaign called A Grave Wedding. And now you know why that name is the name of the campaign.
Yep.
And on that note, I will bid everybody good listening to future episodes, and hope that you will be back for more. So from us here at CharismaToAC, to you, bye for now.
Bye.